Welcome everyone to Mark's Days Creative Differences, a monthly live stream where I talk to writer friends about the little things that make a big difference to their craft and careers, in the hope we can give readers some insight to the creative process and writers and other creative folk some practical advice they can actually use. I'm Mark Stay, author, screenwriter, podcaster, and if you're joining us live, feel free to ask questions in the comments and take part in the conversation. And as always, a big thank you to Dominic Curry for his epic jingle. This is our classic. You know you got a science fiction episode when we wheel this baby out. Here we go. I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Now, before I introduce my special guest, how would you like to come to a live recording of the Creative Differences podcast? Yes, IRL, in real life. Is that what the kids say, Emily?
Yes.
Thank you. Excellent. Yes, in real life. I'm going to be at Staines upon Thames, they're calling it now. You're fooling yourself, Thames. Staines. Yes, I'm going to be doing a live podcast recording with the amazing Julie Wassmer at the Library Hub in Staines. Now, Julie is the author of the Whitstable Pearl Mysteries, the hit TV series starring Kerry Godliman, and Julie also wrote for TV shows like EastEnders as well. She is a brilliant live guest. It's going to be a really, really fun event as part of the National Year of Reading. It's at the Staines, the Library Hub, Saturday, 14th of March, 3 p.m. Up there in the corner, if you're watching this on video, there's a little QR code which you can click on to get tickets. And there's a really long website link there to order tickets as well. And if you listen to the recording, I'm going to put this in the show notes too. So yes, live recording and Staines Library, the Library Hub in Staines upon Thames, Saturday, 14th of March. Julie is absolutely brilliant, fantastic writer, great guest. It's going to be, you can join in real life, see us and chat and come and join us. It's going to be really, really good fun. Wonderful. Right, that's the plug out the way. It's time to meet our special guest. So my guest was born in the outback of Australia and raised by wild dingoes. It says it in his official bio. So he's also author of the incredible Common Trilogy, which is a dark space opera. And he was guest of honor at the 81st Worldcon in China. It's only that Jeremy Szal. Jeremy, how are you today, sir?
Hello. It is an ungodly hour, but I am here and I have. Let's do it.
Yes, you are pretty much on the other side of the world. So yeah, whereabouts in Oz are you?
Sydney. So it is 7 a.m. here.
7 a.m. Excellent.
I don't know why. I don't believe it's 7. It's 9 a.m. This other guy says in New Zealand. I'm pretty. Actually, is it there? Actually, it might be a little bit later. Oh yeah, it is. Look, they're ahead of us. That's right. The only thing that they're ahead with in New Zealand is it's time. Everything else is behind.
Oh, you started early, Jeremy. Started early. Excellent.
Arrows fired.
Well, thank you for joining us here. I really, really appreciate it. Listen, let's talk about, because you got the new book in the Common series. I want to talk about the Common series. And there we go. There's Wolfskin. Wolfskin, folks, is coming on 26th of March. Really, really looking long awaited. The series started with where are we? It's Stormblood. Stormblood. There we go. It's finding my illustration. Then Blind Space, and then we wrap things up with Wolfskin. Tell us about the Common series, because this is a series. It's about addiction, aggression, violence. What inspired this series?
Well, I wouldn't say I had any one specific inspiration for it, but I just do remember thinking that I really wanted to do something that was set in the far future, that was but still rooted in present day issues and present day themes of humanity. And I just remember, obviously I like aliens, as I wanted to have aliens in there. And I thought, what's something that really weird and fun that I could do with alien DNA? And I really liked the idea of alien DNA being a drug. And then I thought, okay, what's the coolest but most messed up thing that it could make you addicted to? Okay, violence. Let's do that. So then I just thought about, the far-reaching consequences and impact that this drug would have on both the individual and society as a whole. And things just escalated there. I didn't see myself going in every direction that I originally planned, but I certainly am, think that where I pretty much wanted to end up, I have ended up. So subconsciously, at least, yeah.
That's interesting. So did you plan out the trilogy beforehand? Did you have a really strong idea of the beginning, middle, end of it? Are you a planner or plotzer? I mean,
I mean, I didn't even know it was going to be a trilogy. I mean, I obviously hoped it would be, but I certainly didn't, bank on it. I think that the book started off especially more cyberpunky, more Richard Morgan. But then as they went on, even as the first book went on, it deliberately becomes more and more space opera, more and more far flung. And so by the end, it resembles something way closer to Red Rising and Sunny the Books, Alistair Reynolds, something like that. But I think things definitely did spiral on from there and grew and grew. That was deliberate, but I also think that the themes and the voice shifted as well as I grew older, because I started writing it when I was 20. How old was I? 21, I think 22. I started writing it.
Wow.
Older when I was 23. Yeah. Yes, I am of the very ripe age. Very young age. So obviously your brain doesn't really finish forming until you're 25. So it was, I guess I kind of grew up with the themes and grew up with the book. And you can kind of see that maturity in the storytelling as well, I think.
That's fascinating. I just used the word plotsy, so I can't complain about brains developing or whatever. Yeah. The thing I love about your work, though, Jeremy, is you've got this amazing world building, these great science fiction worlds, but it's very character driven. I remember you once telling me this is it's almost like a fraternal love story. Tell us more about your characters in this series and how they've developed and matured with the series as well.
Yeah. So basically, for the uninitiated, the book is, although the book is about two characters being on separate ends of a drug war, the two characters are Vakov and Artyom, who are brothers, very estranged brothers, and and in the first book at least, they are very much on opposite sides. And the whole book basically centers around Vakov trying to find out who the hell is killing his former squad mates, who is behind a conspiracy, and he knows that his brother is a prime suspect, and so then he's torn between his family that he forged in the war and the family that his actual flesh and blood family. And so that provided a really great opportunity to explore a lot of really messy, difficult, emotional conflicts. And so it gave me a lot to play with. And so as the books went on, I was able to basically go beyond that and explore the relationship dynamic and, what it means to find redemption, what it means to, truly forgive someone, what it means to, how can you further escalate the relationship further. And so, that's basically the bread and butter of the entire series is these two brothers and, how their relationship evolves and changes and what that means for the enemy. It was a really good thing that I was able to do. I'm really glad that I based it off all of that, because then I could go anywhere. And I think that the setting of the book, because it's set on a massive hollow asteroid, it kind of invites exploration and invites a lot of world building. And so I really did have to cut back a lot on it so I could make sure that I focused on the characters and what they wanted and their emotional state and their relationship and how it kept evolving with the narrative. Because I couldn't just, make it about the same conflict for three books. That would be crazy. But so, yeah. Sorry if I'm somewhat incoherent. It is still early.
Do you not have coffee in Australia? Now bring us up to speed. Bring us up to speed with Wolfskin, because this caps the series off, and it's it's long awaited. And so where do we find our heroes as we're heading into Wolfskin? Because the second book, Blind Space, ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, didn't it?
It very much did. Yeah. So this is going to have major spoilers, but So but it's literally on the back of the book. So so Vakov has, in the end of book 2, he has managed to exorcise the Shenoi from his mind, freed himself from the shackles of blind space, so he's no longer connected to the alien's hive mind, as it were. He smashed the enemy's fleet in battle in a very glorious, large space opera, epic space opera space battle, which was gloriously fun and to write. But now, on the cusp of victory, on the eve of victory, after victory, I suppose, he has then been captured by his prime enemy, the Jackal, and taken prisoner. And so now he has no hope except his brother, because his brother is still on the enemy's side, or at least that's what they think. And so now he's in their clutches, and they are planning to do some very nasty things to him. And so, yeah, things don't go too well for him at the start of the book, let's just say.
I expect nothing less from you, Jeremy. I expect nothing less. Fantastic.
Of course, you don't go to a Metallica concert and ask them to turn the volume down, do you?
Exactly. Now, it's been a bit of a Blind Space, I think, was 2021. And I think it came out during one of the lockdowns, and I had a similar thing as well. But in between that, you did Screaming Blue, which is a novelette set in the same universe, and you had your short stories as well, collected stories, which aren't all in the same universe, but a collection. But it is a bit of a gap between Blind Space and Wolfskin. And also, it's been a very turbulent time in publishing, lockdown, all of this stuff. So, I mean, that gap, that must have been frustrating. What's the story there?
Yeah, frustrating doesn't even begin to cover it. But yeah, I did have struggle with Blind Space writing. It's my first time writing a book on a contract. I still managed to get it out, but the domino effect then pushed back Wolfskin, because ultimately, it did push it back like a few. I was late with starting Wolfskin, and so then when Blind Space was published, I hadn't really made much headway on Wolfskin, and so that and inevitably pushed it back. And then writing Wolfskin itself was very, very difficult. As you said, we just had finished. We just ended another lockdown in Australia. Well, everywhere really. A lockdown in Australia.
Yeah.
It was the most draconian lockdown that we'd had. Like, it was, a lot of restrictions. All the bookstores were closed, and all of that. And it really took a toll on me mentally. I think a lot of people, from talking to a lot of authors, I feel like all of them, there was not an author who did not have a book that hurt them. Every single person who wrote during COVID was affected. If it was after COVID or before, even Brandon Sanderson, who was supposedly unflappable, even he was hit by it. It impacted him and his work. And
absolutely.
So
I think in our genre as well, we're so much, sorry to interrupt, but in our genre, so much of it is word of mouth. So much of it is people go, oh my God, have you read this? So it's, and you get that starts in bookshops. It doesn't really, we like to think it starts online, but I think it starts with booksellers, bookshops, and I certainly know my series was hit by that. And it really did sort of trip everyone up for a long time. And it only feels like now we're sort of getting any kind of momentum back.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it affected sales for sure. It affected Blind Space especially, because Stormblood did surprisingly well. But Blind Space was hit by it. So, there was a drop off, and Blind Space was subsequently hit, and also because a lot of and that was just like the publishing issues. Like, I had a really bad time working with a copy editor, and extremely bad time. And there were also some miscommunications and real life stresses that kind of really punched me in the gut, and so it all coalesced to basically be a very big hammer that smashed me in the face and did not make it a great time. There was a thing that editorially that I felt like I had to do, but I didn't want to do it, and Gillian was off on maternity leave, so I couldn't really communicate with her, and so it was a bit difficult to really say, okay, is this really actually what you think should be happening? And it was only when she came back and I told her, Gillian, for the love of God, I would rather delete every single word I've ever written, past, present, and future, than write this. Please, can we talk about it? She's like, Jeremy, if you don't want to do it, then don't do it. I'm like, well, that's not the way it was communicated to me. Yeah, so that was gloriously fun. But like in saying that, Gillian is probably the only reason why I was able to pick myself up from that. She reassured me. She, showed me the path. She said, "Don't worry, you'll never see that copy editor again." And I said, "Thank God. Okay, I can call my assassin off." It was, that's how. Yeah, so I'm actually all that considered, I'm actually amazed that I got it done. I did deliver the book in February 2024. And so if anyone is, sus of the delay, that's not my fault. I did deliver it. Of course, there is this I must admit that the version I delivered in February 2024 was 440K.
Oh my good God.
Your face. See your reaction. Yeah, it was a big boy. It was a big boy. There were 2 books in there. More than 2, probably. It wasn't that it was long-winded. It was just that there were a lot of subplots and a lot of things that I felt like I had to tie up. So I did have to cut it back significantly. But I think that the book is much stronger for it. Was it painful? Yes. Do I wish that there were some subplots that I could keep in? Yes. But I did get it under 200K. So I delivered that cut version in January 2025. So if someone wants to ask about the gap, not all of it was my doing. I did.
No, fair enough. It's I think the technical term is a cluster. No, I can't remember what it's called. It's something like that. But yeah, a coalition of things up against you. So it's and also I think you were delivering certainly at the beginning of 2024 and 25. Publishers were, the costs of paper going through the roof. And the thing that was going around, certainly in the fantasy science fiction community, was don't deliver anything more than 120,000 words because they won't publish it.
Yeah, and that's still going on. That's still going on, which is, I am so diametrically opposed to that. My skin crawls when I hear that. We're writing books that are set in galaxies far, far away and alternative universes. In what world do you think that it's something that we're able to do and still tell a story that's cohesive, that gives a sense of immersion, that gives a sense of otherness, that that's the reason why we readers of these books love chunky tomes, that they're able to really sink into a world. That's why they buy these books. And so now publishers are like, just chop off nuanced subplots, character, let just get story, just have a dot point description so he could squeeze it into 120K. It irked so much.
That material that you have cut, though, is that because, like I said, we're talking about your short story collection there, and you're very prolific when it comes to short stories. Is any of that recyclable further down the line to expand the universe? Short stories, novellas, that kind of thing.
It could be. There is one that is. But I honestly think that I would have to do a lot more work than is worth in order to make it, then to, farm it for resources and to recycle it into a short story. I think it would be a lot more work than it's worth. And also it would be a bit painful because a lot of it, it was written at a difficult time. And I just feel like just let sleeping dogs lie. I'm just content to, I think, leave it there and not dig up those ghosts.
Yeah, it's like what was it Harrison Ford said at the end of making Return of the Jedi? He said, "I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I did all 3. I'm glad I don't have to do it again."
Yeah, I'm done. I am done with these trilogy. Like, I'm really glad. I love it. I can't wait for it to be out in the world. I'm thrilled that tens of thousands of people so far have experienced this world of mine that just existed in my head. And I know that it's going to circulate for years and years to come, but I'm also content to leave it behind.
This is exactly the point. See, you've put your heart and soul into this. It's been a struggle. It's been tough. But for readers, they're in for a treat. It's now complete. It's all there to dive in and explore. And I think in publishing, we become obsessed with the publication date. everything vectors towards that day, and then after that it's kind of okay, we'll move on to the next thing, blah blah blah. But for readers and for you, now you've got a complete trilogy. This is the beginning of the journey, really. This is where, I mean, I noticed this certainly when I do a lot of Comic-Cons, I sell my books, and I noticed that when I got there are 5 in my series, but when I got to 3, that's when everything started selling, because people go, oh, looking for a new series, I'll have them all. And it made such an incredible difference that they could go, right, the series is complete. And unfortunately, there are authors who shall remain nameless who have not completed long-running series, which has led to this kind of problem in this genre in particular, where people, think, well, I'm not going to read it until they've actually finished it, which is very frustrating.
But, that attitude has killed series. It has orphaned authors. It has shot, and no joke, the amount of sales that you get when a series is concluded is insane. It is boggles my mind to me that people still continue to this day refuse to read a book series until it's finished. These authors who shall remain nameless, one of them who shall be named, Scott Lynch, I've spoke to when I was in Seattle Worldcon. Lovely guy. If anyone has excuses for not delivering book, it is absolutely him. He went 100%. Through hell mentally. And he could more than be excused. I mean, it's not even an excuse. He was in no position whatsoever to be writing, and so that's more than understandable. But he is used as a catalyst for, well, someone didn't deliver a book series, so then I'm now going to punish the rest of publishing and all the other authors by not reading their books till it's out. And he's very well aware of how he's used as a catalyst, and it frustrates him.
It's not his fault. It's not his fault. It's no,
not at all. I mean, the other authors who shall remain nameless, if it's their fault or not, well, who can say? But no, I have nothing but admiration for Scott, and I have nothing for admiration for authors who wish to write but can't for other circumstances. But it is frustrating that the reading community just eschews all these other books because, oh well, they're not finished.
But yours is Jeremy. There they are, all 3 of them. Boom. Plus, novellas and all sorts of fun and short stories. Let's talk about the short stories, actually, because you're a very prolific short story writer. What do you enjoy about writing shorts? Because I know you've used them to explore different ideas and universes. And do you have any tips for the listeners on writing short stories?
Well, what you said before about, writing short stories, do I enjoy them? I actually don't like them. No, seriously, I'm not the biggest fan of short stories. Even when the reason why I started writing them is because it's a stepping stone for novels. To build up a portfolio, to build up a body of work, and that's all it's ever been really for me. In doing so, though, I was able to use them as a way of exercising some ideas. Write about a totally different character, a totally different voice. I was able to shift, mental gears, get on a new track, and it kind of freed up the congestion in my brain and let me then say, oh, okay, well, then this idea that I was struggling with, now I've been able to find a solution because I wasn't actively thinking about it. I think that if I had any advice for writers, it would be, don't do what I did initially and treat short fiction like smaller novels. They're not. When someone reads a short story, they're looking for a very specific emotional reaction. They're not looking for immersion. They're not looking to be invested into a new world. They're looking for something that they can read in a short, quick flash and have that. Someone who opens a short story, they're saying, okay, break my heart in 4,000 to 5,000 words. I don't care how you do it, just do it. Right? Yeah. That's what they're looking for. They're not looking for the same sort of depth and complexity that you would in a short, in a novel. It's a little bit different when you're writing in an established universe, like for example, with Stream in Blue, because that is set in the world of the common, although with a different cast of characters. And so I was able to do a little bit more immersion because it wasn't targeted as much at new readers. So, if when I self-publish another novella, another short piece of short fiction, which I will, it will be, I think I will be able to stretch my legs a little bit more because I have a readership that is that will be reading my books, be going after my books and not just reading in an anthology and being like, okay, well, who's this Jeremy guy? Don't really know him. But they're invested, so they're willing to like purchase a self-published short story in a way that they may not have been invested if they just if I didn't have these other books. They would have been like, okay, well, I'm not sure who this author is, so they would only really read me if I was in an anthology or a short fiction market. But now that I have an audience, I don't necessarily need those platforms.
Yes. Well, I mean, you talk about having an audience. You were guest of honor at the 81st Worldcon in China, which must have been an extraordinary experience. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, for sure. I've had about now 6 short stories published with Science Fiction World, the Chinese science fiction market. To put it in perspective, they have more readers. They have, I think, all the short fiction markets, English language short fiction markets in the world, and that includes Asimov's, Analog, all the big guys. They have 3 times the readers of every single one of those combined. They have a circulation of over a million. Yeah. You talk to any academic from China, even if they're just tangentially, studying economics or whatever, they'll be like, oh yeah, I read Science Fiction World when I was in university. Oh yeah, I studied these stories when I was a kid or whatever. It is so ingrained into the national consciousness, especially with young people, science fiction. And so I've had a few short stories published with them. And so then when I got an email from them after I had a very rough writing day too, and they said, we'd like to invite you to China as a special guest, all expenses paid. I was like, yeah, it was, and I was like, did they get the right Jeremy? Did they get the right Jeremy? No, seriously, but I was like, sure, okay. And then I was like, okay, this can't be real. But then when they started asking for my passport information and asking which airline would you like to fly on, I was like, okay, damn, this is happening. This is happening. Yeah, it was an incredible experience. It was very unusual because it was obviously a lot of Western writers didn't go. But there were, so like Robert J. Sawyer was a guest of honor. The Cixin Liu was obviously there. The S.M. Sterling was there. There were a few writers like that. And yeah, it was just Nnedi Okorafor was there. It was just an incredible experience. Obviously, I mean, the fact that my hotel and flight was paid for certainly didn't hurt. But, to put in perspective, I got there on the first evening I was there. I was back in the hotel room and not in the hotel. And there are these guys sitting in the lobby and they come to me and they say, are you a Western science fiction writer? And I said, yes. And I said, are you Jeremy? And I said, yes, I am. And this guy flipped open a copy of the magazine that I had appeared in and showed me the illustration and said, that's my illustration right there. And I didn't even read it. Was Yep. Wow. I got photos, I got signatures, everything. It was brilliant. Like, I think towards the end of it, I think I signed about 700 signatures. I did 700 for people. No joke. I mean, amazing. The fact that I accepted the Hugo for Adrian Tchaikovsky certainly didn't hurt at the time. That was a time as well. But basically, I remember coming out of the auditorium and going to the what's it called, the Hugo's after party, and all these Chinese security officers they've hired. They're in black riot gear, almost standing, and they just part and then go back in to let the Hugo nominees and whatever go to the party. And you see this like adoring crowd of like Chinese fans just like reaching over them like a barricade. Like it was like a rock drummer at a concert. And so the pen that I was signing with earlier, I just threw it to the crowd. You could see them surge to grab the pen. It was
rock and roll.
The concert, like the drumsticks. No, it was immensely fun. I mean, not even that. I mean, just being able to be there, meet fans, talk to Chinese people, talk to their perspective, the sort of books that they like. The con site that was there, they built it just for the event, right? It was amazing. Meant like it was like probably the best convention I've ever done. It's the best convention I probably ever will do. We were all treated like royalty when we were there. It was, I mean, incredible. I mean, they took us on tours. We got to go and see the Panda Conservatory. So we were in pretty deep China as well. Like, yeah, I went to the tourist section in Chengdu. And so like we saw, and because Chengdu is pretty in the southwest of China, it's next to Tibet, the province of Chengdu is next to Tibet. So it wasn't just, on the border next to Hong Kong, like it was deep China. And being able to being taken on the bus early in the morning from the shuttle bus from the hotel to the event and going to see all these massive signs hanging from buildings, like pandas wearing spacesuits and all these science fiction motifs and whatever. Like they really shelled out. It was because the mayor of Chengdu is a fan of science fiction. And so that's why they was able to throw so much money at it, because he didn't want to let his people down. He was there as well. I didn't get to meet him, but a few other organizers, some other people did. Yeah, it was just an incredible show all around. Like at the Hugo ceremony, they literally had live music and live musicians on stage and stuff like that. It was
phenomenal, amazing.
They really put out a show. They really, really did a show, and it opened my eyes to what Chinese science fiction is and how much they care and how much they really adore the genre. And it was an ego boost as well, because as I said, I was going through some tough times then, really tough times, and then to have people come to me and want photos and ask me to sign the t-shirts and and stuff like that, and people who knew me, they had my short stories in magazines there, and they were asked me to sign them, and some of these I hadn't actually seen in person yet myself, because I hadn't gotten my copies.
Right.
So actually showed it to me, and I was like, oh, that's my story in Chinese. It was, incredible. I actually think I have some of the issues here. So I can show what they look like if you like.
Yeah. Bring it on. I love that. It's I mean, did you have any kind of communication with the translator, or is it one of those things where it's kind of just left to them and presented to you? Was there any sort of back and forth on the translation front?
Not really. The translation, no. I mean, there were one or two things that they asked, but other than that, it was pretty separate. But yeah, this is what they look like, the magazines.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
So that's that says, because I can read some, because I can speak Japanese, and I can read some Chinese characters as well. That's science fiction world. That's the world part. Yeah, they're pretty well done magazines. And so these are the people who originally published the Three Body Problem as well.
Right,
so they're
of course, yeah.
They're pretty, So Cixin Liu is obviously the guest of honor there. Let me just see if I can find my story. It's a bit hard to read. I can't actually. I think is it two? Yeah.
So we're not going to ask you to read in Chinese live on air.
That's one of my stories. That's the illustration for one of my stories.
That's fantastic.
So they really shell out. They really shell out for those. We were given we were given whole booklets and stuff like that for to take with us. I even still have my Hugo ticket for the Hugo Awards.
Well, that's it. You'll keep it. It's a once in a lifetime kind of thing, isn't it? It's phenomenal.
Oh, it was incredible. I actually almost had to buy another suitcase just to take all the gifts that I got. I literally got hoodies and umbrellas and boxes and jewelry and stuff like that. It was obviously all that was really cool, but to see so many people care so deeply about science fiction, and to see them integrate so many communities into our genre was incredible. I mean, I talk about this because I feel like it doesn't get enough credit in fandom, because when we hear about China's Worldcon in China, we all know what we hear about, right? The controversy with the Hugo Awards, and that was all because of the West and because of a few Americans making those decisions. But I think that, for example, we rocked up one day and they had about 200 Chinese school kids that had come on an excursion to this event just to meet us and just to see science fiction. And I remember sitting in this big room when they screened all these little did a previews of all these science fiction series that were coming out in China and all these books and stuff like that. And there were these kids behind me, who were so excited, and these people had flown in from all over the country to be there. And I'm thinking this would never happen in the West. You would never, ever, ever have, a school excursion was like, oh, let's go to Worldcon and meet all the local authors, it would be like, who cares, right? But they do there. They really do. They like, and to see as well, I think what was really interesting was that the overwhelming vast majority of con attendees there were young people. There were college students in the mid-20s and early 30s and whatever. If you do go to a fandom event here, like a Worldcon, you would forgive me, but you might confuse it for a nursing home.
That's not fair.
Mark, you are a young spring chicken compared to some of the other people there. Like seriously, like I'm like, you're practically a child. At the average age of you're practically a child compared to the average age.
I think though there's I think we might be seeing a change as well, because I do a lot of Comic-Cons as opposed to kind of the literary, and the Comic-Con thing, it skews very young now. There's this generation, and they are much more interested in Asian culture compared to US culture. I mean, growing up, there was American culture was very dominant, but now they're into manga and anime, and they're so I think you're seeing that generation going to Comic-Cons, but not necessarily things like the Worldcon and stuff like that, which attract a very different audience, a much more traditional audience, maybe.
Yeah, I know. I certainly agree. And I've done little events down here, like Comic-Con-esque events, and it does definitely skew young male, young female, and younger in general. But the difference is, I think, with Worldcon China is that the two work coalesce. Like it felt much more like a Comic-Con, but still maintain that close relationship with fans and fandom and focus on the little guy, like the Worldcons do. So I felt that was hugely impressive. It took a lot to organize. I speak still. I've made friends there for life. I know some of them still have PTSD from how much work it took to organize. But yeah, I mean, shuttling around, taking care of hundreds and hundreds of ignorant foreigners just traipsing around a giant city. It was not easy. And I know that some people got lost and ended up almost on the other side of the city, stuff like that. But yeah, it was an incredible event. It was the honor of my career, and I owe them for as long as I live. I owe them.
Fantastic. Well, let's take a little break, folks, because I need to talk to you about the Green Room. The Green Room, twice a month, I run live sessions on Zoom where you can ask me questions about the craft of writing, your work in progress, the business of publishing. The sessions are fun, informal, chatty. You can send me questions in advance. They're recorded live and saved on Ko-fi for exclusive access to Green Room supporters. So yeah, we'll put a little there we go. There's a QR code up at the top there if you want to discover more, and there's a URL running along the bottom there. So yeah, I'm running this via Ko-fi. You can join by clicking on the Green Room membership tier for just £20 a month. There's no long-term commitment. My goal is to be able to give supporters advice that's going to make a real difference to their writing and career, because the way I see it, having worked in this industry as a salesperson, bookseller, author for over 30 years, I've made every mistake, so you don't have to. The next Green Room sessions are, so Wednesday, 18th of February. Gosh, that's tomorrow. We've got a Q&A session where folks send me questions and we have lovely discussions. And then on the 25th of February, we have our 200-word workshop session where people send me 200 words from their work in progress, and we dig into it there and all come out better writers. And I've added a new thing called the One Topic Wonders, where I talk about one thing for the whole session. So we're going to be doing cover design next time around. So yeah, do come along and check that out. And I've got books, and you can buy them all from all good bookstores, as they say. Although that QR code's just changed there, you can go straight to my store at witchesofwoodville.com and check that out. So we've got the Witches of Woodville series there, all 5 of those. The End of Magic trilogy is now complete as well, with the End of Gods. So you can come along and get signed copies of that as well. Right. Let's get back to just a quick reminder. So Julie Wasmer, Saturday 14th of March, come along to that, come and check it out, and it's going to be really, really good fun. Good live show. Right, let's get back to our guest, Jeremy. Right, Jeremy, this is where we do the regular questions that I ask all of my guests. So what small thing has made a big difference to your creative process?
I think, as I said earlier, being able to switch tracks, write another short story, a novella that's set in another world. It allows you to, really free your mind of any self-imposed restrictions that you might have had.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, sometimes I'll be so focused on a problem that I'll be unable to see the tree from the forest. And so being able to do that helps me sometimes to think about problems by not thinking about them. And I've made huge discoveries on main projects by simply working on another project. In fact, I made one this last week, a problem that was gnawing at me for nearly 18 months. And I finally found a solution to it. And I was like, it's like a blockage has been knocked out in my brain, and all the dammed up water is just gushing through. And I'm like, man, I feel like I'm able to fly now. I've got to finish the project first, the little project first, but then it's back to the main thing where I've solved a problem. And I'm looking forward to the future coming back to this video and seeing like, man, like it would all started there.
Brilliant. What's the thing that makes you think you're ready to start writing on a project?
See, that's the thing that I've had to come to learn, is that you're never ready. You can prepare forever and you can never be perfect. There will always be more world building you can do. There will always be more research or chapter outlining or character sketching that you can do, and you can fool yourself into these distractions forever. Basic avoidance, and it's even classified as a mental health fields. That's even it's called avoidance, and there's avoidance tactics. And so it's very much something that I find, like I speak to some writers and they're like, oh yeah, I've just been world building the same thing for 15 years. And I'm like, man, just sit down and do the damn thing already. Although, look, at the same time though, you sometimes there are things you need to sort out. And sometimes you write and you're like, okay, I made a mistake here, or okay, this is a conflict, this doesn't really work, this is a contradiction, and you need to go back and sort it out. When I was first outlining Stormblood, I wasn't initially sure that I wanted to have the main character have a brother at all, because I think I'd just come off a book where it featured the main character going off to save his sister, and so I think that I was like, okay, do I really want to do the sibling dynamic again? But the dynamic was so wildly different that I thought, no, of course, it's got to get done. I've got to do it. And now when I started writing it within 3 short chapters, I'm like, yeah, I knew it would have been a mistake to leave this out. So I was very glad that I'd gone down that route. But yeah, I think it's a delicate balancing act. But at the same time, I do think overall, at the end of the day, it's better to have those words down than not. Absolutely. Because I feel like you can always scrap it, you can always change things, but you can't edit a blank page.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I do think that's important to propel yourself, especially if you're in the middle of writing as well. I think you enter a flow state where you can just jump off the previous day's work and continue like that. Whereas if you're staring at something completely new, you have no momentum. You have to get off on a running start yourself.
100%. Now, at the other end of that spectrum, how do you know when you're done? And I'm speaking to someone who delivered a manuscript 450,000 words, was
it? I think when you have nothing more to say, I think is when you're done. I think like I think that this depends if you're asking about an individual project or a series. With Wolfskin, obviously, it wasn't so much that I kept writing; it was that what got cut was all in the middle. In fact, I think it was in about 2/3. Most of the overwhelming vast majority of what got cut was around the 2/3 section. The ending is unchanged. In fact, the ending scenes are all unchanged. Like, sure, there were paragraphs that were cut and little tiny subplots that were trimmed down, like pages that were knocked down, or descriptions that were knocked down, or whatever. But like the actual narrative, the ending didn't change. The circumstances around it did. And I think that I fell into the mistake of doing a falling ending where each character got a closing chapter to themselves, You know, in the way that Abercrombie's done. And for example, in Last Argument of Kings, like every single character has a little subplot ending. I couldn't do that because I didn't have the word count, and also, yeah, for that, and also because the narrative, I'd written so much already that the narrative would break under its own weight. So I had to cut that back. But if you're asking about a series overall, I would say that don't stretch it out, because, like, you know, I have nothing more to say about that. It's done. Adding to it, I think I'm very happy with where I left him and his companions. I'm happy with where I left the state of the world. Adding to it would be detrimental, and I think it would detract from the main voice and the main point of the story. And I think that, as well, you're gonna have to read it to find out exactly what that is, because I ain't spoiling it for you.
No, don't, please don't.
Yeah, it was all a dream. Oops, did I say that out loud?
Right, how do you remember that idea that you have at 3 a.m?
I don't.
Good. Sure.
I have notes on phones, but, you know, if I'm groggy, but no, what I write then is almost indecipherable. Like, you need a Rosetta Stone to figure it out. You know, I sometimes can remember them, and I have a very vivid memory. Like, I remember a dream that I had yesterday that I remember extremely well, and that I will not be describing here online.
No, please don't.
It's not what you think. It's not what you think. But generally I think that sometimes, like, I do have these notes that I write sometimes, but I usually am not conscious at 3 a.m. anyway. So
I had a dream the other day. I invented a new word, and it was a really good word, and everyone loved it, and it became famous. And can I remember it? Nope.
Anyway. Mary Poppins.
Yeah, it was supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. We may have covered this already, so feel free to skip this one. But what's the biggest mistake you've ever made in your writing career?
I think it was lacking confidence. As I said, I was really worried about, you know, certain fast things I wanted to do, and I was constantly worried about, what will my editor say, what will the publisher say, what will Gillian say, you know, can I get away with this, am I allowed to do this, am I, you know, able to do this? And it hamstrung me to a very terrible degree, and it was only in these, like, last few years I've been able to claw back and have this mindset of, no, I'm the storyteller. It's my book. It's name on the cover. It'll be done my way, you know, regardless of what anyone else thinks. Of course, you still talk to your editor, you have conversations, but this is not about that. This is about, if you're sitting down at your desk, you know, if you want to make the subplot or to make the narrative unfold in a certain way, or have these characters go in a certain direction, it is on you to do justice to that, to your idea and to your characters and to your world. No one else can do it for you, and it is certainly no one else's place to tell you that you can't do it. There are certain things that I've cut, you know, but like me and my editor have had exchange of views about, but that would come down to a word or a certain implication. But what I've wanted to do overall, the way the narrative has gone, has been completely me.
Excellent. I mean, you were, like you said, you were 21 when this all really kicked off, which is very young to be published. And you're coming into an industry which can be very intimidating as well. It has its own language, it has its fixed way of doing things. It's very, very slow. And of course, you're in Oz, you know, where a lot of the action's happening either in London or New York or whatever, with all due respect to Australia's, you know, publishing. But it's I mean, I remember from speaking to you previously, you would make the journey to the other side of the world to come to Worldcons in the UK and the States and whatever. So, you know, you were really putting the hours in, but, you know, you're only 21, 22 or whatever. So it's...
I have grown up. I'm 30 now. But when I started, I mean, my first Worldcon was Finland Worldcon. I was like, I think I was 22 at the time when I went there. And got wildly drunk with Ian McDonald, which was great fun. And way too much gin. Ended up getting lost on the way to the dead dog party. But other than that, it was, it has been experiencing a learning experience. And I did go through the school of hard knocks, I think, especially with COVID. I mean, no one knew what was happening.
Yeah.
I didn't know, bookstores didn't know. No, and to this day, I still don't know. Okay, is this something that I do or organize, or is it my publisher organizes for me? Because offices were closed, like everyone was working remotely. No one knew what was going on. And I think post-COVID, a lot of things changed as well. And like, as you said, with print and copies that are ordered and how long books can be. And it was a very turbulent time, and it still is. I feel like we are slowly getting back to normalcy now. And I think we are starting to see books that are longer. It could just be me, but I think we are starting to see books that are longer in the science fiction fantasy world. I mean, it could just be hopeful thinking, but and especially like the sort of books that are published as well. I mean, like we all know romantasy, right? Has just been taking the world by storm. But I feel like that bubble is going to shrink, maybe not pop, but shrink at some point in the very near future. And so, it's going to be a turbulent time again.
Well, we'll see. Everyone I know has been saying that for about 3 years, and it's still going strong. So it's given the genre as a whole a real shot in the arm, I think. Next question: what's the best happy accident of your writing career?
It's actually, it was about 2 years ago now. I was frustrated with another project. I just couldn't get it to work. I was just banging my head against the wall. I was sitting in this my library writing. And out of nowhere, I just decided to start writing a fantasy project that was very, very different, very different voice and character and relationship dynamic. It was a fantasy, speaking of romantasy, it was a fantasy with romance, not a romantasy, but it had a strong element of romance. Not the slow burn type, but I think it was more about just enduring trials and, going through hardships together, and what does that do to your relationship dynamic. And I did not expect it to develop at all. I maybe thought, okay, maybe this would be a short story on the side, but maybe, okay, then it got a bit bigger. Okay, maybe I can make it a novella. But now I nearly have a finished novel, and I'm probably going to turn it into a self-publish it, make it a series that I do on the side. It's not what I want to be known for. It's certainly not a style that I would consider my main forte. In the same, if we use a Star Wars analogy, we have the big, quality as notwithstanding, we have the movies, which are the big blockbuster things that everyone goes to see, but then we have the smaller projects like The Mandalorian and Andor and stuff like that just have a much more muted release. I get quality notwithstanding, because Andor is like one of the best things I've ever seen on TV ever. But so I'd say that's sort of what I'm doing. We have these big blockbuster projects, and we have these smaller things on the side. Both of them. Well,
you say that, Jeremy, but I know authors who said, I'm just going to try this one little thing, and it turns out to be the biggest book of their career. So it's you never know. You never know.
Who knows? I'm purposely not sending this to publishers because I don't want them to take this and run with it and say, oh yeah, write 10 more of these. I'm like, no, I want to do this at my own pace, because it's the sort of thing that I don't want to be trapped by, because it's also, it's a bit hard to describe, but basically it's almost like a campaign style. Like, I'm not outlining it, I'm not planning it. I'm like, this, wherever the wind may blow, this is where the characters will go.
Brilliant.
So yeah.
Good stuff. And finally, on the regular questions, is there a character or story swirling around in your mind that you want to write, but you're not ready to write yet?
I don't know. I mean, this is kind of this other little indie fantasy project that I started doing. Was kind of like, this other thing that I'm like, can I really write this? Should I write this? You know what? I'm just going to go and do it. I did start work on basically a John Carter or Jane Carter, because there's a female protagonist, I guess, planetary adventure. I did a novelette set in that world, and it's in Broken Stars actually. And I started work on the novel version, but I got distracted by other things. It's not that I'm not ready; it's just that I'm busy doing other things.
Only so many hours in the day,
yeah, not enough. I would love to do a mega sprawling space opera like Sun Eater. I would love, this big epic, Dune-esque world. And I almost did with one of my other projects, but I'm actually shifting it away a little bit. I can't really I don't really want to reveal why at the moment, but yeah, I'm changing that. I just have all these other projects that are demanding my attention. I'd love to be able to work in comics for a little bit. I've dabbled in video game writing, although I can't say too much about it. But yeah, I just have a lot of things in the oven, but not a lot of things on the serving table yet.
Excellent, nice analogy. Do we have any questions, Emsky?
Yes.
From the folks joining us live.
Sorry.
So, Thomas says, the biscuit. Thomas asks this question every episode. Favorite biscuit? Of course, Tim Tams, Australian legendary. When I had Australian colleagues, when I worked at Hachette, when they got some Tim Tams, they got very excited. They went all around the office. They're basically penguins. But,
Blasphemy.
So,
Heresy.
So, favorite biscuit?
It's still early, so I'm just going to go with they're not my favorite, but let's just go with Tim Tams. And no, I don't do the Tim Tam dunk, the Tim Tam explosion, Tim Tam dunk, which is actually no, I kind of do sometimes. Yeah, I guess I do it. The other thing that people do is I do the Tim Tam suck, which is they bite off both ends, then they dip it into the coffee or milk, whatever, and they suck it up like a straw. I do not do that. I do not treat my Tim Tams that way. But I do
give that a try. Definitely give that a try.
I do dunk them sometimes.
Excellent stuff. Well, look, let's segue smoothly from Tim Tams to what is bringing you joy at the moment. And you sent me an incredible list, so we'll go through these one at a time. So we'll start with games. You mentioned Ghost of Yotai.
Yotai, yeah.
Yotai.
Say it properly, damn it. It's Yotai.
Tell us about this.
It's a story about revenge. It's basically set, if anyone's played Ghost of Tsushima, it's a video game from basically where you're in medieval Japan fighting against the Mongol horde. This is the sequel to that, set hundreds of years in the future, where you are a samurai or a warrior that is seeking revenge of your slaughtered family. Not exactly a original idea, but the gameplay is incredible. The world is incredible. The text, it's so fully realized. I was actually where this game is set in Yotai, Mount Yotai. I was there only a few months ago. I was in northern Japan, Hokkaido. It's a northern island of Japan where Sapporo, the capital is Sapporo, and Yotai is about half a day's drive. Actually, no, not even that. It's less from Sapporo, and I was there, and we got to actually see the mountain. It wasn't covered with snow at the time because it was summer, but it was actually really, really cool to be there and then play this game where you're riding around Hokkaido, and on a horse and seeing that it's not quite the same. Obviously, a lot less cities and neon and buses, but it's also really fun to actually see it realized in a video game. Where you actually places where you stood, although they look remarkably different.
Amazing. And the other game you recommended, or this bringing you joy, is Stardew Valley.
Yeah, I did not expect this to be a game that I love. A farming simulator where you go. Basically, the aim of the game is to do chores. I'm not even feed your chickens, milk your cows, plant your veggies, water your veggies, go to the store, buy your plant seeds, fix up your fences. But I mean, there's more to it than that, but I love it. It's therapeutic, it's relaxing, it's exciting, there's so much depth to it. I do not expect to love it as much as I do, but I've got like 100 hours. I poured like 100 hours into it in less than 2 months, which is so
wow.
Yeah.
Next, you'll like this one, Emily.
Hell yeah.
Attack on Titan. My kids, Jeremy, the background to this is my kids have been trying to get me to watch this for years. I mean, years. And whenever I walk in the room, they're just all screaming at each other. And I'm like, is this the tone of this? I can't be doing with the screaming, constant screaming.
First question, do you watch it dubbed or subbed?
Subbed.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. You are okay, good. I'm relieved. Subtitled, yeah.
I've brought my kids up on Ghibli and they watch the subtitle stuff even before they could read. So...
Yeah, good. Kyojin, Attack on Titan. It is one of the greatest stories told. Your kids will know this. Emily will probably know this, but there's a episode in season 3 that completely changes everything you think you know about the world and the story.
Yeah.
And then season 4 changes it again. And it is just an incredible, phenomenal show. It is obscenely dark, and it has I feel like a lot of anime, because I watch a lot of it because I'm learning Japanese. A lot of anime sometimes feels like it's fan servicey and characters are being silly and yelling at each other with cartoon, exclamation marks above their heads, and it's all very whimsy and silly and fan servicey. This has none of it. This is some of the rawest depictions of PTSD and trauma that I've seen in any piece of fiction ever. It is absolutely phenomenal. It's incredible. It's not exactly the sort of thing that you watch to bring you joy, but
brings you sorrow.
Well, seeing other characters suffer so I don't have to brings me joy. But
yeah, it's cathartic. It's cathartic.
It is. No, it's cathartic, but also because it's just damn good storytelling. And I was showing this to a friend of mine recently, and we watched it together. And I was just studying his reactions to certain things, and that in itself was a joy. Seeing his the shock and awe, and the going through the ups and the roller coaster of it.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant. Okay, we are running out of time, but we'll go through some of the others. Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which I've not watched yet because I'm rewatching Game of Thrones with my wife, who's never seen it before. And you talk about watching people for their reactions, But this looks really fun. The Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Actually, these are quite short episodes, aren't they?
Yeah, they're pretty short. They're pretty truncated. It's a completely different tone from Game of Thrones and even House of the Dragon. It's because obviously I read the book, The Hedge Knight, that this is based on, and that in itself is a lot more whimsical and classical. It's not quite the revisionist fantasy that the Song of Ice and Fire is. There's not really any, deliberate eschewing or reversing of tropes, as it were. This is very much a wayward knight who wishes to become a wayward, servant who wishes to become a knight that is traipsing around the countryside and wants to enter a tourney. There's more to it than that, of course,
yes.
But it is very, very much a slow, casual thing. I was able to watch the first episode I watched it with my mum, and I have not been. My mum has refused to watch anything else Game of Thrones related. She watched the first episode of the first season of Game of Thrones. She's like, "Yeah, I'm tapping out. I can't do this anymore." But we was able to watch this no problems because it's very, very chill and down and relaxing, and that's quite fun.
Cool. And Marty Supreme, which I've also heard, it's by Josh Safdie, who his films are always very stressful to watch as well.
Oh,
and I hear this is quite a ride as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing this. I haven't read this yet.
It's great. I was on the cinemas just a few days ago with some friends, and I've seen the Safdie's other projects, and so I knew this would be stressful. But I thought, okay, it's about ping pong. It's how stressful can it be? Spoiler: it's extremely stressful. I did not expect there to be gas station explosions and shootouts in a movie about ping pong, but they were also. But there you have it.
Yeah, no, I will be checking that out. And then the latest Avatar. We talk about world building. Avatar has been extraordinary. So, did you go and see this in the full 3D IMAX experience?
I saw it in 4D, Mark.
Oh, right.
I'm extra like that. No, it was literally seats shaking, water spraying. Wind blowing in your face. It was incredible. Look, some people have problems with the Avatar films. I love them. They are second to none, the most immersive films that I've ever seen. And sometimes I just want to disappear in Pandora for a couple of hours, and these are the perfect ways to do it. Disappear into another world. I really, really enjoyed this one.
Fantastic. And then we got Adrian Tchaikovsky in books Eyes of the Void. Adrian, fantastic author. But writing in the same genre as you. Why this one over his others at the moment? Or was this just a key one for you?
I really like this one. I love space opera. Spoiler alert. I love space opera. And I feel like this is kind of like a Mass Effect light. And crossed with, I think I actually asked him about this. He said it was Event Horizon. There was kind of like a mini Event Horizon subplot or sub-theme that runs through the book. But yeah, Adrian, I can always trust Adrian to bring the goods with great storytelling, but he does non-human characters phenomenally well. And yeah, I just love this book, and I'm just going through the second book now. This is the second book in the series, I believe. So yeah, I'm working my way through it now.
Great. And another second book in the series, James Islington, The Strength of the Few. Tell us about this.
Yeah, he's a fellow Australian author. Not many people know that, actually, for some reason. The first one is fantastic, and it's one of my favorite novels of all time. The second novel takes things in a completely different direction. It is impossible to talk about without spoiling it, but it is certainly he does things I've never seen done in a fantasy novel before, and it's quite ambitious. Yeah, I'm liking it a lot.
And on the manga front, you mentioned Beastars.
Yeah. This might be slightly embarrassing, but sure, I'll do it. This is a manga basically series about a world of anthropomorphic animals. But the interesting thing is that they are divided into prey and predator. So the carnivores are the predators, herbivores are the prey. It starts with a student being murdered in a school, and it delves into racism and prejudice and what society accepts and how people deal with the other. It has for a series about animals, it has a lot to say about humans. And I like it a lot.
Excellent. On the music front, you've been recommending the Mono Band.
Yeah, Mono, the Japanese post-rock band. No lyrics. They have a song called Ashes in the Snow, which is probably my favorite song of all time. It is 13 minutes long. It has but that's the thing about music, is that you listen to some songs and it's the same beat, the same tone, the same rhythm for 3.5 minutes, right? It's the same. I can think of tons of songs. This is a song that ebbs and flows and goes quiet and loud and relaxes and drones on, and you get almost like a whole story narrative through it. You can almost feel the narrative structure of the music, and I think that's an incredible feat. So if it was 13 minutes of literally just drums and guitars, rhythms, I would be dead. But it's very much not that. Like, it's, there are ebbs and flows.
I'm a Floyd fan. Sounds like my kind of thing. And you recommended a band called Oasis. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Oasis. Are they any good? Are they on tour, perhaps?
Yeah, it must be. Yeah, I saw them live a couple of months ago. Seeing Liam Gallagher live was quite an experience. He is it's not like I know him or anything, but he is, from what I saw, every bit as what the stories make him out to be. It was a phenomenal time. I think the crowd was like, I've been to a Metallica concert, and the concert at Oasis beat them for rowdiness and insanity. Probably because, I'm no joke, at least a third of the crowd were English. So that's
probably true. Yeah, that's true. And Sigur Rós as well, you've been recommending.
Yeah, post-rock band. Probably a lot of people, if anyone knows the post-rock band, it would be this one. I've seen them live a couple of times. It's always magical. It took me a couple of years to really get into them, to really appreciate them and what they do. But now that I have, their music, it just makes me feel in a way that a lot of other bands can't. I basically, there's a ship in Wolfskin that's called the Samskiti, which is the title of one of the songs of the Brackets album. So there's a few references to their work in my work. So I was listening to it at the time. So excellent. Right, here's some of the stuff that's bringing me joy. And Small Profits, which is the new TV series on the BBC from Mackenzie Crook. Now, I'm going to get on my high horse a bit here, if I may, because I have a bone to pick with the BBC, right? Okay, so the BBC treats original science fiction and fantasy the same way it treats, say,
religious programming in that it has one show. So they, you have songs of praise for religious programming. You have Doctor Who for original science fiction and fantasy. They do nothing else. And it's notable that when Doctor Who came off the air, what did we get? We get Red Dwarf, So it makes me wonder what other great shows you would have had if the BBC had a better attitude about science fiction and fantasy. But what Mackenzie Crook has done is he's gone and snuck a fantasy magical story, original story, under the radar because of the clout he got with shows like The Detectorist and his great Wurzel Gummidge show. And this is just wonderful. It's 6 episodes. It's about a guy who's having to grow homunculi in his garden shed, little fantastical creatures. It's got Michael Palin in it. It is just a joy, a beautiful soundtrack, and highly, highly, highly recommended. The other thing that's bringing me joy at the moment is Spectators, which is a graphic novel by Brian K. Vaughan, who did Saga and Why the Last Man, and the artist Nico Henrikon. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And this is about 2 ghosts watching humanity self-destruct in the far future. And there's something about it, because they're watching it at this remove, being ghosts. Never has so much extreme violence and graphic sex been so relaxing. It doesn't pull its punches. It's incredible. It's an incredible read. Highly recommend, not for the squeamish, but highly, highly, highly recommended. And my big treat at the end of every day is the Winter Olympics at the moment. I'm just adoring it. It's I'll go on the iPlayer and just relax and watch someone throw themselves down a side of a mountain on a tea tray. It's just fantastic. The other thing I'm doing, Comic-Con season is back. So if you're listening to this live this weekend, I'm going to be at Brighton. At the end of the month, I'm going to be at the London Film and Comic-Con at the Olympia in London. I'm going to be in Bristol, Peterborough, Bournemouth. So, if you're in the area, pop along to my website where you can find, my diary page, which has got all my appearances in Comic-Cons and all of that good stuff as well. And I'm going to plug it one more time. A live episode of the podcast in Staines, Saturday, 14th of March, 3 p.m. with the amazing Julie Wasmer. Do come along to that. It's going to be really, really good fun. Well, look, folks, I really hope you've enjoyed this episode of Creative Differences. You'll find all the links we discussed in the show notes for the episode and on the episode's webpage at markstaycreativedifferences.com. Huge thanks to Emily for production assistance, to Kai Newton for the edit, and Dominic Curry for the jingle. And a very special thank you to my very special guest, Jeremy Szal, and everyone who's joined us live tonight. If you're listening to the audio podcast or rewatching this on Facebook or YouTube, thank you very much. But we really missed you. So you're more than welcome to join us next month. Speaking of which, next month's special guest is Kathleen Wyman. Kathleen is a best-selling humorous women's fiction author. She writes for all the multitasking, mentally overloaded women who put themselves on the subs bench for the sake of their family and are beginning to realize they don't have it all, they just do it all. Kathleen's books, one of which was shortlisted for the Comedy Women in Print Prize, are inspired by her own struggle to juggle a career with children, housework, life admin, and never-ending laundry, and the laundry is winning. So join us live Wednesday, 18th of March, 8 p.m. GMT. It's going to be really, really good fun. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, things like ratings, reviews, likes, shares, they all make a huge, huge difference for those weird AI algorithms. But more importantly, if you could just tell one person about this, how much you've enjoyed it, what you've learned from it, that'll make an absolutely huge difference. So word of mouth, you can't beat it. So thank you to everyone for joining us. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's been absolutely brilliant. We covered an awful lot of ground there. So until next time, folks, happy writing, happy reading, and being different. And this is where we wave at the audience as we play out. There we go.